Dear listeners, welcome to our YouTube channel Numis Nexus. Today we will tell you about the 5 most important and valuable state quarters of America, which are seemingly ordinary coins, but if you examine their history and the facts hidden within them, you can guess how valuable they are. These coins should not be considered as 25-cent coins, but collectors bid for these coins, and there is a lot of competition for them, and they pay millions for these. Please note that if you think of these coins as just coins, then unfortunately you are mistaken. Rather, these are gold coins. Please know the reality of these coins. So watch the video till the end to know the truth about these coins. Let's start this documentary with this rare quarter, the 2000 United States Virginia State Quarter, which is the 10th coin in the 50 State Quarters program. The 2000 Virginia State Quarter is one of the most historically rich coins in the United States, Mint's ambitious 50 State Quarters program, which began in 1999 and continued through 2008. And this coin honors Virginia as the 10th state to ratify the Constitution in 1788, and as one of the original 13 colonies that shaped the birth of the nation. The program itself was authorized by Congress in 1997 and became one of the most successful coin initiatives in American history, generating massive public interest and billions of dollars in revenue through seigniorage and collectible sales. And when Virginia's turn arrived in 2000, the designers chose to commemorate the 1607 founding of Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement in North America, an event that marked the beginning of what would eventually become the United States of America. The reverse of the coin features 3 ships sailing across the water: the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery, which carried settlers from England to the New World under the charter of the Virginia Company of London, and these vessels landed at Jamestown in May 1607 along the James River, establishing a fragile colony that endured famine, disease, conflict, and uncertainty, but ultimately survived and laid the foundation for English America. The inscription, Jamestown 1607-2000, appears prominently connecting the past with the present, while the phrase quadricentennial reminds viewers that the coin was issued just 7 years before the 400th anniversary of the settlement, and Virginia's long-standing nickname, the Old Dominion, reflects its loyalty to the English crown during the 17th century and emphasizes its early importance in colonial history. The obverse of the quarter continues the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan for the 1932 Washington Quarter, but modified slightly for the State Quarter series, including adjustments to inscriptions and spacing, and the coin bears the standard inscriptions, United States of America Liberty, In God We Trust and Quarter Dollar, and was struck in both Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, as well as in proof versions at the San Francisco Mint, in both clad and 90% silver compositions for collectors. The total mintage exceeded 15 billion coins, with hundreds of millions produced at each mint, making it widely available in circulation, yet highly significant in historical symbolism. And Virginia's selection of the Jamestown theme was deliberate because Jamestown represents the beginning of representative government in America, as the colony later established the House of Burgesses in 1619, which became the first elected legislative assembly in the New World. And this development directly influenced the democratic framework later embedded in the United States Constitution. And Virginia also produced many of the nation's most influential founders, including George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe, earning it the nickname Mother of Presidents, and reinforcing why its quarter carries such historical weight artistically. The reverse design was created by engraver Edgar Z. Stever IV and sculpted by United States Mint artist John Mercanti, capturing motion in the sails and texture in the water to symbolize courage, exploration, and determination, and the ships themselves are angled to suggest forward movement, representing not only the journey across the Atlantic, but the forward march of American history. And although the Virginia Quarter is common in circulation, high-grade uncirculated examples and silver-proof versions remain desirable among collectors. especially those assembling complete state quarter sets, and errors such as off-center strikes or die cracks can add additional interest in the numismatic market. And beyond its collectability, the coin serves as a miniature history lesson reminding Americans of the risks taken by early settlers, the struggles of survival, the interaction between English colonists and Native American tribes, including the Powhatan Confederacy, and the eventual transformation of a small riverside settlement into a powerful colony that played a decisive role in the American Revolution and the drafting of founding documents. And as part of the broader 50 State Quarters program, the Virginia issue helped sustain nationwide enthusiasm for coin collecting among children, families, and educators who searched pocket change for each new design, turning everyday currency into a storytelling device that celebrated the unique heritage of every state. And in the case of Virginia, that heritage stretches from indigenous civilizations to colonial experimentation to revolutionary leadership and constitutional development, making the 2000 Virginia State Quarter not just a piece of metal, but a symbol of origins, exploration, governance, and endurance that continues to circulate through American hands, carrying with it the story of Jamestown, the spirit of the Old Dominion, and the enduring legacy of a state central to the nation's founding narrative. The 2000 Virginia State Quarter deepens in meaning when viewed within the full context of the Jamestown settlement, which marked England's determined effort to establish a lasting foothold in North America after earlier failures such as Roanoke and the arrival of the Susan Constant Godspeed and Discovery in May 1607 brought 104 settlers to a marshy peninsula along the James River, where they chose a defensive position against potential Spanish attack, but unknowingly exposed themselves to disease-contaminated water and harsh environmental conditions. And during the first years, the colony endured what historians call the starving time, during the winter of 1609 to 1610, when food shortages reduced the population drastically and survival seemed nearly impossible. Yet leadership figures such as John Smith imposed strict discipline with the rule that those who did not work would not eat. And later, agricultural experimentation by John Rolfe introduced a new strain of tobacco. That became Virginia's economic lifeline, transforming the struggling outpost into a profitable enterprise and encouraging further migration from England. And this economic shift led to the headright system, which granted land to settlers and investors, stimulating expansion, but also accelerating displacement of Native American tribes, particularly the Powhatan Confederacy, whose complex relationship with the colonists ranged from cautious trade to violent conflict, including the Anglo-Powhatan Wars that reshaped the region's power balance. And in 1619, two pivotal events occurred that permanently influenced American history: the convening of the House of Burgesses, which established representative self-government in the colony, and the arrival of the first recorded Africans in English North America, events that would evolve into systems of representative democracy on one hand and racialized slavery on the other. And these intertwined legacies form the deeper historical foundation behind the imagery of the three ships on the Virginia Quarter, because they symbolize not only exploration, but the beginning of social, political, and economic systems that defined the future United States. And when Virginia ratified the Constitution in 1788, becoming the 10th state to join the Union, it brought with it immense political influence as home to leaders such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe, four of the first 5 presidents, which reinforced its identity. As a cornerstone of early American governance, and the 50 State Quarters program launched by the United States Mint sought to capture such defining narratives for each state, and Virginia's choice of Jamestown reflected its origin story rather than later Civil War history or Revolutionary War battles, emphasizing beginnings over conflict, and artistically the design by Edgar Z. Stever IV and sculpted by John Mercanti balances movement and symbolism, with the ships angled forward as if entering a new horizon, representing courage, risk, and transformation, While the dual dates 1607 and 2000 connect 4 centuries of history, and the inscription quadricentennial anticipates the 400-year anniversary commemorations that would take place in 2007, drawing attention to Virginia's enduring role in national memory, and numismatically the coin was produced in massive numbers exceeding 1.5 billion pieces across Philadelphia and Denver, with proof and silver-proof versions from San Francisco. Yet collectors value high-grade examples, as well as varieties such as off-center strikes, die cracks, and proof cameo contrasts. And educationally, the Virginia Quarter became a teaching tool across classrooms where students learned about colonial survival, early democracy, Native American relations, and the roots of American agriculture, simply by examining a coin in their hands. And in that sense, the 2000 Virginia State Quarter represents far more than currency. It encapsulates exploration, hardship, adaptation, economic transformation, political innovation, and the complicated beginnings of a society that would grow into a nation, making it one of the most symbolically layered issues in the entire State Quarter series. And a powerful reminder that the story of America began not with certainty, but with fragile ships crossing an ocean toward an unknown shore. The story of the 2001 Kentucky Statehood Quarter begins with the history of the United States Mint's 50-state quarter program, a program born out of a desire to celebrate the unique heritage and character of each state in the Union. By the late 1990s, the Mint was seeking ways to connect everyday Americans with their history and to elevate something as ordinary as a coin into a canvas of state pride and collective memory. The idea was simple yet profound. Every quarter released by the United States during this period would feature a design emblematic of one of the 50 states, with each coin struck in the order the states ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union. Kentucky, the 17th state, admitted to the Union in 1792, holds a special place in American history, nestled between the Appalachian Mountains and the Mississippi River, a land of rolling hills and fertile fields. It was into this context that the designers of the Kentucky Quarter sought to capture not simply an image but a narrative of place. Kentucky's unique cultural identity, shaped by pioneers and frontiersmen, horse racing, and bourbon, distilled from corn-rich woodlands and winding rivers, called for a design both evocative and resonant with the people of the bluegrass state and beyond. The quarter itself was released in 2001 under the umbrella of the United States Mint's State Quarters program, a monumental effort that would capture the imaginations of coin collectors and everyday citizens alike. The Kentucky Statehood Quarter was authorized by an act of Congress in the late 1990s, and became one of the most anticipated issues in the series. It was the 17th issue paying homage to Kentucky's admission to the Union on June 1, 1792, and it was struck in Philadelphia and Denver, with millions of coins entering circulation over the course of the year. When you hold the Kentucky Quarter in your hand, you see on its reverse side a design featuring a thoroughbred racehorse being led by a jockey and an attendant, capturing the deep tradition of horse racing in the state known worldwide for the Kentucky Derby. The impression of motion on the coin is deliberate. The finely rendered musculature of the horse and the careful attention to detail evoke the speed, prestige, and breeding excellence for which the Kentucky horse industry is celebrated. Surrounding these figures are inscriptions that further reinforce the theme of state pride. The words Kentucky and 1792 to 2001 arc across the top and bottom of the coin like a banner of tribute. The horse racing motif connects directly to the cultural heartbeat of Kentucky. Long before it became a state known for its bourbon or bluegrass music, horse racing was a defining feature of life in the region. The Kentucky Derby, first run in 1875 at Churchill Downs, earned the nickname the most exciting 2 minutes in sports and became an annual tradition that blended spectacle sport and social ritual. It is this spirit that the Quarter seeks to immortalize on metal, a snapshot of elegance, history, and human endeavor. But the Kentucky Quarter is not only about horse racing, it is also about the story of Kentucky itself, its people, its landscapes, and its pivotal role in the westward expansion of the early United States. Kentucky was the first state west of the Appalachian Mountains to be admitted to the Union, a gateway to the West for settlers forging paths through the wilderness. It was home to Daniel Boone, an iconic figure in American folklore whose exploration and settlement of what is now Kentucky inspired generations. Boone's legacy, like the state itself, is complex and layered with triumph, conflict, and the rugged realities of frontier life. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, the region that would become Kentucky was home to Native American peoples whose cultures and traditions were deeply rooted in the land. European colonization brought waves of explorers, pioneers, and settlers whose arrival transformed the region. The struggle for control of the territory was fierce, with competing claims by British, French, and various Native American nations, each seeking to assert their interests. Throughout decades of conflict and negotiation, the land eventually became incorporated into the United States following the American Revolution as pioneers pressed ever westward. Kentucky's journey to statehood was shaped by these forces and by the sheer determination of its inhabitants. Settlers carved farms and communities out of dense forests, navigated treacherous rivers, and forged roads that would become vital routes into the expanding nation. When Kentucky was admitted as the 17th state, it was a testament to the resilience and ambition of its people, a beacon of westward expansion in a young and growing republic. The United States Mint's decision to feature the thoroughbred on the Kentucky Quarter thus resonates far beyond a simple tribute to a beloved sport. It encapsulates a narrative of movement, of progress, of competition, and achievement. As collectors and ordinary citizens received these coins, they found themselves holding a piece of that narrative, a miniature monument to Kentucky's contributions to the tapestry of American life. Throughout 2001, millions of Kentucky quarters entered circulation, capturing the attention not only of numismatists, but of ordinary people who saw in the coin a reminder of the state's heritage. Coin collectors marveled at the artistry of the design, the balance of form and symbolism, and the way the mint brought to life the spirit of Kentucky on the smallest denomination of United States currency. The Mint's efforts were widely covered in newspapers and on television throughout that year, with stories that explored the history of the design and the process by which it was created. The production of the quarter itself is a fascinating story of craftsmanship and precision. The United States Mint, which had existed since 1792, operates facilities that are marvels of industrial art, where blanched discs of metal are transformed into coins bearing intricate designs. The process begins with sculptors and engravers who work from sketches submitted in competition, often after consultation with designers, historians, and state officials. Models are created first in clay or plaster, then reduced to a size suitable for coinage using specialized tools that translate three-dimensional art into dies capable of striking millions of pieces with consistency and clarity. Once the dies are prepared, they are hardened and mounted in presses capable of exerting tremendous force. Blanks of metal composed of a cladding of copper and nickel for the state quarters are fed into the press and struck with the die imprint, transferring the design in meticulous detail onto each coin. The result is a piece of art born from industrial precision, a coin that bears upon its face the collective memories and pride of a state and its people. For Kentuckians, the release of their state quarter was a moment of celebration. Parades and special mint events were held in cities across Kentucky in 2001, with speeches by local officials and historians who spoke of the importance of recognizing the state's role in the nation's history. Schools used the quarter as a teaching tool, introducing students to state history and the broader context of American heritage. Museums and historical societies organized exhibits that paired the coin with artifacts from the early days of settlement, the Civil War era, and the development of horse racing as a social institution in the region. Collectors often sought uncirculated and proof versions of the Kentucky quarter-proof coins that are struck with special care and finish for collectors. These coins were sold directly by the United States Mint and preserved in protective cases to ensure that every detail of the design remained crisp and untarnished. For many, the proof version became a centerpiece of their state quarter collection, each piece a testament not only to artistry, but to the historical significance embodied in that tiny circle of metal. The legacy of the 2001 Kentucky Statehood Quarter continues long after its release. It serves as a reminder that coins are more than currency, they are storytellers. When we hold a quarter in our hand, we hold a piece of history minted into existence, touching both the past and the present. The Kentucky Quarter invites us to reflect on the land and people that helped shape the nation, the fields where thoroughbreds race under blue skies, and the rivers that carried pioneers onward. Every time a Kentucky quarter passes through a cash register or is plucked from a pocket, it carries with it the echoes of history. Those who study coins will tell you that state quarters ushered in a renaissance of interest in numismatics, inspiring a generation of collectors, young and old, to engage with history through metal and design. Children learned to save and compare coins by state adults, rediscovered the joy of collecting, and families bonded over the shared experience of searching for each new release. In the grand sweep of American history, the Kentucky Statehood Quarter represents a small physical object, yet it embodies a vast story. It is a chapter in the narrative of a nation's expansion, the story of a state shaped by its geography, its people, and its traditions. It is a tribute to the thoroughbred, to the spirit of competition, and to the pride of Kentuckians who see in their state a heritage worthy of celebration. As we reflect on the quarter today, we see it not just as a piece of currency, but as a symbol, a gateway to discussion about history, culture, and identity. Its release in 2001 was a milestone in the 50-state quarter program and remains a cherished piece for collectors and history enthusiasts everywhere. When you hold the Kentucky Quarter, the image of the horse and rider invites you to imagine the thundering hooves of a Derby winner, the cheers of a crowd on a warm spring afternoon, and the unending drive of a people carving their destiny on the frontier of a young nation. In this way, the quarter transcends its material. It becomes a storyteller, a keeper of history, and an invitation to explore the stories that make up the American experience. Whether you're a collector, a historian, or simply a curious observer, the 2001 Kentucky Statehood Quarter offers a rich tapestry of meaning and memory that continues to unfold with every generation that picks it up and wonders about the world from which it came. For centuries, coins have told stories. They carry the weight of history, culture, economy, and identity in their very metal. The United States Mint's 50-state quarters program, begun in 1999 and completed in 2008, was one of the most ambitious and beloved coin series ever produced in American history. It brought the nation's quarters back into the spotlight, not just as currency, but as tiny canvases celebrating the heritage and spirit of each state. In this series, every design was a chapter, and among those chapters, the 2006 Nevada State Quarter stands out as a powerful tribute to the Silver State's rich and rugged legacy. To truly understand the Nevada Quarter, we must journey back into the dreams and conflicts that forged this region. Long before Nevada became a state of the Union, the land now known for its neon lights and vast deserts was home to Native American tribes, the Paiute, Washoe, and Shoshone peoples, whose deep knowledge of the land sustained their communities for generations. Their presence, though rarely captured in early American narratives, laid the foundation for all who followed. With the advent of European exploration and the westward push of settlers in the 19th century, Nevada's landscape became the stage for dramatic change. Miners, traders, and pioneers passed through its valleys and mountain ranges. In 1859, a significant discovery was made that would alter the territory's destiny. Silver was found in the Comstock Lode, a mineral treasure that became one of the richest silver deposits ever discovered in the United States. News of the find spread like wildfire, drawing fortune seekers from across the globe. Towns sprang up almost overnight, booming with the clatter of picks and shouts of celebration as miners sought their fortunes deep underground. The wealth from the Comstock Lode did far more than enrich individual miners. It accelerated Nevada's path toward statehood. The Civil War was raging, and the federal government, eager to secure valuable resources and strategic land in the West, acted swiftly. In 1864, just 5 years after the silver discovery, Nevada was admitted into the Union as the 36th state, its name forever linked to the Spanish word for snow-covered, Nevada, a poetic reminder of its high mountain ranges. Over time, the silver rush began to wane. Yet even as mining ebbed and flowed, the state's identity remained deeply rooted in its mineral wealth. The rugged mountains, stark deserts, and resilient communities that survived through boom and bust became emblematic of Nevada itself. This landscape of contrast, from shimmering ore to dusty trail, from isolated valleys to towns reborn by new industries, is where the story of the Nevada Quarter finds its meaning. By the late 20th century, Nevada was known not just for its mining history, but for its broader cultural impact. Las Vegas, the city that once began as a modest railroad stop in 1905, had blossomed into a global entertainment capital. Casinos and hotels towered across the desert, lights glowing under starry skies that once witnessed wagon trains and prospectors. Reno, too, earned its nickname, the biggest little city in the world, drawing visitors with both charm and opportunity. These modern facets of Nevadan life did not overshadow its past. Rather, they complemented the narrative of growth, transformation, and enduring spirit. When the United States Mint embarked on the 50 State Quarters program, each state was invited to propose designs that encapsulated its essence, symbols that resonated with history, culture, and pride. For Nevada, the chosen design reflects a powerful duality. It honors both the state's legacy of mineral discovery and its iconic desert wildlife. On the 2006 Nevada Quarter, a prospector's pick and pan are depicted alongside a desert bighorn sheep standing atop rugged terrain. This imagery captures the spirit of exploration and the wild beauty of the Southwest. The prospector's tools speak directly to Nevada's mining heritage, a tribute to the countless men and women who ventured into harsh landscapes in search of wealth and opportunity. The pan evokes the rhythmic sound of water and rock, the hope in every sift, and the grit required to persevere when fortunes were uncertain. Adjacent to these symbols stands the desert bighorn sheep, its curved horns and poised stance a testament to resilience in unforgiving environments. The bighorn is a creature shaped by survival, navigating steep cliffs and harsh climates with poise and strength, a fitting emblem for a state molded by challenge and change. In designing this quarter, the United States Mint sought to encapsulate not just a historical episode, but a lived identity, the intertwining of human endeavor with nature's enduring presence. The quarter is more than legal tender. It is a story told in relief, a reminder of the landscapes and lives that define Nevada. The release of the Nevada Quarter in 2006 was met with enthusiasm by collectors and citizens alike. By this time, the State Quarters program was firmly ingrained in American culture. People of all ages collected quarters not just for their monetary value, but as souvenirs and educational tools. Children learned geography through coins. Adults rediscovered pride in their home states. The Nevada Quarter, with its bold design and meaningful symbolism, became a favorite among enthusiasts. Minting and distribution of the quarter followed the traditions of the U.S. Mint, striking millions of coins at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, each destined for circulation in countless pockets, registers, and collections across the nation. Some quarters entered the world of commerce almost immediately, changing hands in everyday transactions. Others found their way into collectors' albums, preserved in pristine condition, admired for their artistry and story. Over the years, the Nevada Quarter has remained a small but enduring ambassador of the state's legacy. Whether found in loose change, displayed in collections, or featured in educational contexts, it continues to spark curiosity about Nevada's past and present. People hold the coin between fingers and imagine the echoing clang of the Comstock mines, the silhouette of bighorn sheep against sun-baked ridges, and the glittering lights of Las Vegas rising from desert sands. In reflecting on the journey of the 2006 Nevada State Quarter, we see more than metal and mint marks. We see a tapestry woven from exploration and enterprise, from the rich pulse of mining towns to the silent beauty of the desert expanse. We see symbols chosen to remind us of where we come from and what shapes us. And in that quarter, small and finite as it may be, lies a universe of stories waiting to be told. When we continue exploring the story behind the 2006 Nevada State Quarter, the deeper layers of Nevada's past begin to unfold in ways that make the coin even more meaningful. Nevada's identity was never shaped by a single discovery or a single generation. It was forged in cycles of boom and bust, resilience and reinvention, isolation and sudden global attention. After Nevada achieved statehood in 1864 during the presidency of Abraham Lincoln, the state quickly became known as a powerhouse of mineral wealth. The Comstock lode was not just a silver strike. It was a turning point in American industrial and financial history. The immense flow of silver from Nevada helped stabilize the Union economy during the Civil War. The wealth financed railroads, banks, and businesses far beyond the state's borders. San Francisco's financial institutions, in particular, flourished because of Nevada's silver output. Entire fortunes were built on the strength of ore pulled from Nevada's mountains. Yet prosperity was rarely permanent. When silver prices fluctuated and major deposits were exhausted, towns that had once been alive with energy often declined just as quickly as they had risen. Ghost towns began to dot the Nevada landscape. Places like Virginia City, once among the most important mining communities in the American West, experienced dramatic rises and declines. These ghost towns remain silent witnesses to Nevada's unpredictable economic history. Their weathered, wooden buildings and abandoned shafts serve as reminders that opportunity in the West often came with risk. Beyond mining, Nevada's vast geography played a major role in shaping its character. The state is dominated by desert terrain and mountain ranges, making it one of the most geographically diverse states in the country. The Great Basin region, which covers much of Nevada, is a land of internal drainage where rivers and streams do not flow to the ocean. Instead, they empty into valleys and salt flats. This unique geography created a harsh yet beautiful environment that demanded adaptation and toughness from anyone who settled there. Ranching and agriculture also became part of Nevada's story, though on a smaller scale compared to mining. Cattle ranchers carved out livelihoods in remote valleys. Water rights became critically important in such an arid state. Control over water shaped political decisions and economic growth, especially as cities expanded. The development of irrigation systems and reservoirs allowed certain regions to flourish despite limited rainfall. In the 20th century, Nevada experienced another dramatic transformation. The legalization of gambling in 1931 marked a defining shift in the state's identity. While much of the nation struggled during the Great Depression, Nevada positioned itself as a destination for entertainment and opportunity. Las Vegas, in particular, transformed from a quiet desert settlement into a rapidly expanding city, fueled by tourism, gaming, and hospitality. Massive resorts and casinos began to rise along what would become the world-famous Las Vegas Strip. Neon lights replaced lanterns. Showrooms replaced saloons. The state reinvented itself yet again. Around the same time, another massive project reshaped Nevada's landscape and economy: the construction of the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River. Completed in 1936, the dam provided hydroelectric power, water storage, and jobs during a time of economic hardship. It also enabled the growth of cities in Nevada, Arizona, and California. The reservoir created by the dam, Lake Mead, became one of the largest artificial lakes in the United States. This project symbolized the federal government's role in developing the American West and highlighted Nevada's strategic importance. Military history also forms part of Nevada's story. During World War II and throughout the Cold War, Nevada's remote deserts were used for military testing and training. The Nevada test site became known for nuclear weapons testing in the mid-20th century. Though controversial and complex in its legacy, this chapter reflects Nevada's continued role in national defense and technological development. The desert bighorn sheep featured on the 2006 Nevada Quarter carries deep symbolism connected to this landscape. The animal is uniquely adapted to steep, rocky terrain and arid conditions. Its presence on the coin honors Nevada's wildlife heritage and emphasizes the relationship between land and life. The bighorn sheep was officially designated as Nevada's state animal in 1973, reflecting public pride in the creature's resilience. Much like Nevada itself, the sheep survives in extreme environments and thrives where others might struggle. The mining tools on the coin, the pick and shovel, represent not only the Comstock lode, but also the broader identity of Nevada as the Silver State. Even today, mining remains a major industry in Nevada. In fact, Nevada is one of the world's leading producers of gold. Modern mining operations use advanced technology far removed from the hand tools of the 19th century. Yet the spirit of resource extraction remains embedded in the state's economy. The quarter design intentionally connects past and present, showing that Nevada's mineral heritage did not vanish with the silver boom. When the Nevada State Quarter was released on January 31, 2006, it became the 36th coin issued in the 50 State Quarters program, matching Nevada's order of admission to the Union as the 36th state. This numerical alignment added a subtle historical touch to its release. Millions of these quarters were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, entering circulation across the country. Proof versions were also struck in San Francisco for collectors, featuring mirror-like finishes and sharper detail. Collectors often examine Nevada quarters for variations in condition and mint marks. While most circulated examples carry only face value, high-grade uncirculated and proof coins remain popular among numismatists. The State Quarters program overall became one of the most successful coin initiatives in United States history, inspiring a new generation of collectors and bringing renewed public attention to everyday currency. The Nevada Quarter tells a layered story. It speaks of native heritage and frontier exploration. It recalls silver strikes that changed national fortunes. It echoes the clang of mining tools and the distant calls of desert wildlife. It hints at neon skylines and engineering marvels rising from barren land. Every symbol on its reverse side carries decades, even centuries of meaning. In the end, the 2006 Nevada State Quarter is not simply about one state at one moment in time. It is about transformation. It is about how land shapes people and how people reshape land. It is about endurance in harsh climates, innovation in uncertain economies, and pride in a unique identity. Through a coin small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, the vast story of Nevada continues to circulate, passing from person to person, generation to generation, carrying with it the enduring legacy of the Silver State. The Idaho State Quarter was released in 2007 as part of the historic 50 State Quarters program, which was one of the most successful coin programs ever created by the United States Mint. And it marked Idaho as the 43rd state to be honored in the series, with its admission date of July 3, 1890, proudly displayed on the reverse design. The quarter carries the powerful and majestic image of the Peregrine Falcon, a bird known for its speed, precision, and dominance in the sky, symbolizing Idaho's rugged wilderness freedom and natural strength. The falcon is shown swooping gracefully above the outline of the state, capturing a sense of movement and untamed spirit, while the inscription Esto Perpetua, meaning "Let it be perpetual," reflects Idaho's state motto and represents the enduring character and lasting beauty of the gem. State Idaho is famously known as the Gem State because nearly every known type of gemstone has been discovered within its borders, and this rich, natural heritage inspired the selection of a design that would reflect both wildlife and landscape rather than focusing on industry or architecture. The reverse was designed by mint engraver Joseph Mena and sculpted by Don Everhart, whose artistry brought the falcon to life in stunning detail, creating a coin that collectors immediately admired for its clean composition, strong symbolism, and balanced layout. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington originally, designed by John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth, though slightly modified in 1999 to restore elements of the original 1786 bust by William Cousins. This combination of classic presidential imagery on the front and dynamic state symbolism on the back represents the blend of national heritage and state pride that defined the entire program. The Idaho Quarter was struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints with mint marks P and D, respectively. And like other state quarters, it was produced in copper-nickel, clad for circulation, as well as in silver-proof versions for collectors at the San Francisco Mint. The total mintage reached hundreds of millions of coins, ensuring widespread circulation across the nation, yet high-grade uncirculated and proof examples remain desirable among collectors, especially those building complete 50-state quarter sets. The year 2007 itself was significant in the program because it also included quarters honoring Montana, Washington, Utah, and Wyoming, making it a year that celebrated the rugged landscapes and pioneering spirit of the American West. Idaho's history stretches back thousands of years to Native American tribes such as the Nez Perce, Shoshone, and Coeur d'Alene peoples who lived on the land long before European exploration and whose cultural legacy remains an essential part of the state's identity during the early 19th century. Explorers like Lewis and Clark traveled through the region, mapping its rivers and mountains and opening the door to fur-trading missionary settlements and eventually gold rush activity in the 1860s, which attracted thousands of settlers seeking fortune in Idaho's rich mineral deposits. The state's economy historically revolved around mining, agriculture, and forestry, with potatoes becoming its most famous agricultural product, earning Idaho international recognition as the leading potato producer in the United States beyond agriculture. Idaho is also known for its breathtaking landscapes, including the Rocky Mountains, vast forests, deep river canyons, and pristine lakes, making outdoor recreation a major part of its culture and economy. The Peregrine falcon chosen for the coin carries environmental significance as well, because the species once faced severe population decline due to pesticide use in the mid-20th century, but through conservation efforts, including breeding programs and environmental regulation, the falcon made a remarkable recovery and was removed from the endangered species list in 1999, just 8 years before the Idaho Quarter was released, making its appearance on the coin a subtle celebration of environmental resilience and renewal. Collectors appreciate the Idaho Quarter, not only for its aesthetic qualities, but also for potential varieties and errors that occasionally appear, such as die cracks off center strikes or high-grade specimens graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. Though most circulated examples remain worth face value, pristine condition coins can command modest premiums, particularly in certified mint state grades. The 50 State Quarters program overall transformed coin collecting in America by introducing millions of new collectors, encouraging families and children to search pocket change for missing states, and increasing public interest in the stories behind each design. Idaho's quarter contributes to this legacy by highlighting wildlife and conservation themes rather than focusing solely on historical figures or buildings, offering a refreshing artistic perspective that stands out within the series. The coin's inscriptions include United States of America, $quarter Idaho, 1890, and Esto Perpetua, arranged carefully to frame the central image without overwhelming it, creating visual harmony that reflects the mint's evolving design standards during the early 21st century. The quarter remains legal tender and continues to circulate, occasionally reminding Americans of Idaho's place in the Union and its natural treasures from the Snake River Plain to the Sawtooth Mountains for YouTube creators producing long-form content. This coin offers endless storytelling opportunities, including discussions of Idaho, statehood, Western expansion, Native American heritage, wildlife conservation, minting technology, and the broader cultural impact of the State Quarters program, making it possible to expand this narrative into hours of engaging historical exploration while keeping the story flowing naturally without interruption. Just as the motto Esto Perpetua suggests a wish for permanence and continuity, the Idaho State Quarter stands as a small but powerful tribute to a state defined by strength, beauty, independence, and enduring spirit. The story of the Idaho State Quarter becomes even more fascinating when placed within the broader national excitement of the 50 State Quarters program, a 10-year initiative launched by the United States Mint that transformed everyday pocket change into a moving history lesson for millions of Americans by 2007. The program was nearing its final stretch, and anticipation was high as collectors rushed to complete their albums. Idaho's selection process for the reverse design involved collaboration between state officials, historians, artists, and citizens who submitted ideas reflecting what best represented the gem. Many proposals highlighted potatoes, mountains, mining, or famous landmarks. Yet the Peregrine Falcon ultimately won, because it symbolized not only Idaho's dramatic wilderness, but also resilience, speed vision, and survival qualities deeply connected to the identity of the state. The Falcon's placement, soaring above the state outline, subtly emphasizes Idaho's geography, which includes the Snake River cutting through volcanic plains, towering peaks of the Bitterroot and Sawtooth Ranges, and vast forests that cover more than 40% of the land, making it one of the most forested states in the nation. The motto Esto Perpetua, meaning let it be perpetual, carries powerful historical roots, as it was reportedly spoken by Venetian theologian Paolo Sarpi in 1606, referring to the Republic of Venice, and later adopted by Idaho in 1867, reflecting hopes that the territory and eventually the state would endure through hardship and change. Idaho achieved statehood on July 3, 1890, during a period of rapid Western expansion when railroads, mining camps, and agricultural settlements were reshaping the American frontier. The quarter's release in 2007 also coincided with growing national awareness about wildlife conservation, echoing the Falcon's remarkable comeback after decades of decline due to DDT pesticide exposure. Conservation programs, including captive breeding and habitat protection, allowed peregrine populations to rebound dramatically, making the bird a symbol of environmental recovery that resonated strongly with modern audiences beyond symbolism. The coin reflects advances in minting technology during the early 21st century, when improved dye preparation and strike quality enhanced detail and durability. Compared to earlier decades, coins were produced in massive quantities at both Philadelphia and Denver, ensuring nationwide distribution, while proof and silver-proof editions struck at the San Francisco Mint featured mirror-like finishes and frosted devices, appealing to collectors who value contrast and precision. Numismatists often analyze strike sharpness, feather detail on the falcon, and clarity of the state outline when grading high-quality examples, because subtle variations in luster and surface preservation can significantly influence market value, especially for coins certified in mint state, 67 or higher by professional grading services. The Idaho Quarter also forms part of a larger narrative celebrating Western states in 2007 alongside Montana, Washington, Utah, and Wyoming, creating an unofficial Western heritage theme that year. Each of those designs highlighted natural beauty and frontier spirit, reinforcing the idea that the American West represents freedom, exploration, and opportunity. Idaho's deeper history stretches back thousands of years to indigenous peoples, including the Nez Perce, Shoshone-Bannock, and Coeur d'Alene tribes, whose cultures, traditions, and trade networks shaped the region long before European contact. The Lewis and Clark expedition passed through Idaho in 1805, documenting its rivers, mountains, and tribal nations, opening the door to fur traders, missionaries, and eventually gold prospectors. During the 1860s, gold discoveries in places like Boise Basin triggered rapid population growth, leading to territorial status in 1863 and eventual statehood. Decades later, agriculture, especially potatoes, became a defining industry due to fertile volcanic soil and irrigation, from the Snake River transforming Idaho into a global agricultural powerhouse. Yet beyond farming, the state developed strong timber mining and hydroelectric industries powered by rivers and mountainous terrain. The quarter captures this blend of natural abundance and rugged independence in a single dynamic image for collectors building complete sets. The Idaho Quarter represents not just another slot in an album, but a reminder of how coinage can serve as portable art, carrying stories of ecology, settlement, exploration, and state pride. The widespread popularity of the State Quarters program encouraged educational activities in schools, sparked treasure hunts for error coins, and increased overall revenue for the Treasury through seigniorage profits generated. When coins remained in collections rather than returning to circulation, decades from now, historians may look back at the Idaho State Quarter as a symbol of early 21st century America, when national identity was expressed through shared cultural projects that celebrated diversity among states while reinforcing unity under one currency. And as long as quarters continue to circulate in change jars, drawers, and collections, the image of the Peregrine Falcon will keep soaring across America's imagination, embodying the endurance, strength, and natural majesty that define Idaho, and fulfilling the promise of its timeless motto, Esto Perpetua, let it be perpetual. The story of the 2016 Harpers Ferry National Historical Park Quarter begins not with the coin itself, but with the inspiration behind it. In the early years of the 21st century, the United States Mint and the National Park Service partnered to create the America the Beautiful Quarters R program, an ambitious tribute to the natural beauty, historic landmarks, and enduring stories of the United States. The program was authorized under Public Law 110456, a 12-year initiative to honor 56 national sites across the nation's landscape. From the rugged wilderness of remote forests to the storied grounds of battlefields, historic towns, and cultural sites. Each year, 5 new coins would be issued, each bearing a design emblematic of a place whose heritage and significance helped shape the American experience. By the time 2016 arrived, the program had already become a cherished way for Americans to connect with their collective history through currency that traveled in everyday pockets and purses. Among the 5 coins released in 2016, the third was destined to represent Harpers Ferry National Historical Park, a place whose name evokes deep chapters of conflict, courage, and change in the American story. Harpers Ferry itself is nestled at the confluence of 2 rivers, the Potomac and the Shenandoah, a site of both natural convergence and historical crossroads long before the United States became a nation. Its roots stretch back to the colonial era, and the development of early American industry, transportation, and innovation. The park was established as a national site in 1944, honoring its legacy that includes pivotal moments in early transportation history and industrial advancements, and it later became central to volatile chapters of the Civil War. When the United States Mint and the National Park Service selected Harpers Ferry for inclusion in the America the Beautiful series, they chose a scene that would speak to one of the most dramatic and impactful events associated with the town, John Brown's raid on the Federal Armory in 1859. This raid, led by the abolitionist John Brown, was a bold, controversial attempt to ignite an armed slave uprising and challenge the institution of slavery that gripped the nation at mid-century. Although the raid ultimately failed and Brown was captured and later executed, his dramatic stand in Harpers Ferry intensified national tensions and helped set the stage for the Civil War. The building associated with that stand, known as John Brown's Fort, would become the central image on the quarter's reverse. The design process itself was a careful collaboration. Artists and sculptors working with the Mint's Artistic Infusion program developed multiple candidate designs that captured both the spirit of Harpers Ferry and the broader themes of struggle and resilience. Among these, the design ultimately selected featured the stark, enduring silhouette of John Brown's fort rising against the field of the coin, a quiet yet powerful reminder of the passionate and often painful fight over freedom in America. This design was created by Thomas Hipshin, an artist with the Mint's Artistic Infusion program, and sculpted by the United States Mint's own Phoebe Hemphill, whose expert engraving translated the artistic vision into the metal relief that would appear on millions of coins. Surrounding the central image are the inscriptions that tell the story at a glance: Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, John Brown's Fort, the year 2016, and the traditional motto, E Pluribus Unum. On June 6, 2016, the Harpers Ferry Quarter was officially released into circulation and through the United States Mint's collector products. 2 days later, in Harpers Ferry itself, a ceremonial launch brought together local officials, representatives of the Mint, residents, and visitors to celebrate the new coin. The event took place in Lower Town, among the historic streets, flanked by the Shenandoah River, where the community gathered despite gusting winds and summer weather. Olympic basketball gold medalist Vicki Bullitt served as master of ceremonies, and after speeches and introductions, newly minted quarters were poured from a replica of John Brown's fort into a box fashioned like a rifle and musket ammunition chest. Children surged forward in excitement, receiving coins as tangible reminders of their history. The Harpers Ferry Quarter entered a world where coin collectors, history buffs, and everyday citizens alike would encounter it in change, in collections, and in displays. Its production numbers were remarkable. Combining the output of both the Denver and Philadelphia mints, over 800 million Harpers Ferry quarters were struck for circulation, making it one of the most widely produced coins in the America the Beautiful series. For collectors who sought uncirculated and proof versions, sets were sold that included coins from Philadelphia, Denver, and the San Francisco Mint. These pieces found their way into albums, frames, and educational exhibits that broadened the reach of the story beyond mere currency. Yet behind the coin lies the deeper narrative of Harpers Ferry itself, a place whose significance spans centuries and whose history is woven into the fabric of American identity. Long before it was commemorated on a quarter, Harpers Ferry was a focal point for industry and invention, including early experiments in manufacturing that presaged modern assembly line production and the arrival of America's first successful railroad. It was a settlement where cultures met, where ideas about liberty and human rights clashed and converged, where the struggle for unity and freedom played out in real time. The presence of the Appalachian Trail and the opportunity for fishing, hiking, and exploration draw visitors to the park today, but it is the lived history and the echoes of transformative events that give the place its enduring power. archival images of Harpers Ferry through different eras, animated diagrams of the coin's design evolution, interviews with historians about John Brown's raid, and footage of the mint's release ceremony. Consider including stories about the people who lived and worked in Harpers Ferry, the armory itself, and its role in early American industry, and the way the quarter fits into the larger America the Beautiful series that celebrates national heritage through everyday objects. The 2016 quarter honoring Harpers Ferry National Historical Park represents far more than a small silver-colored coin passing from hand to hand. It is a condensed chapter of American struggle, industry, geography, and transformation pressed into metal by the United States Mint as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program. To fully understand the meaning behind this coin, one must journey deeper into the layered history of Harpers Ferry itself, a town whose size is small, but whose influence on American history is immense. Long before the events of the Civil War gave the town national fame, the land at the meeting of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers held importance for Native American tribes who recognized its strategic and spiritual significance. The rivers formed a natural crossroads, a gateway through the Appalachian Mountains, and later this geography would determine its destiny. In the 18th century, a man named Robert Harper established a ferry service at this vital crossing, giving the town its name. What began as a simple transportation link soon evolved into something much greater. In 1799, the federal government selected Harpers Ferry as the site of one of only two national armories in the young republic, the other being at Springfield, Massachusetts. The decision was driven by geography and security. The rivers could power machinery, and the location was inland enough to be safer from foreign attack. The armory became a cornerstone of early American industrial development. It was here that innovations in interchangeable parts were advanced, helping lay groundwork for the Industrial Revolution in the United States. Skilled workers, machinists, and engineers gathered in Harpers Ferry, transforming it into a center of precision manufacturing and technological progress. By the mid-19th century, however, the nation's growing conflict over slavery began to overshadow industrial achievement. The presence of a federal armory filled with weapons made Harpers Ferry an attractive target for those who believed force was necessary to end slavery. In October 1859, radical abolitionist John Brown led a small band of followers in a daring attempt to seize the armory and spark a widespread slave uprising. The raid lasted less than 2 days, but its impact reverberated across the country. Brown and his men were eventually captured by forces led by Colonel Robert E. Lee, then serving in the United States Army. Brown's trial and execution turned him into both a martyr and a villain, depending on one's perspective, and the event intensified sectional tensions that soon erupted into the Civil War. The structure that appears on the 2016 quarter, known today as John Brown's Fort, is actually the Armory's fire engine house. Though modest in size, it became one of the most symbolically charged buildings in American history. After the Civil War, the building was moved several times and even displayed at the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago before being returned to Harpers Ferry. Its survival and restoration mirror the nation's ongoing dialogue about memory, conflict, and reconciliation. When the Civil War began in 1861, Harpers Ferry quickly became a military objective. Confederate forces seized the armory and destroyed much of it to prevent Union use. The town changed hands multiple times during the war. In 1862, during the Maryland Campaign, Union forces stationed at Harpers Ferry were surrounded and compelled to surrender to Confederate General Thomas Stonewall Jackson in one of the largest surrenders of Union troops during the entire war. The surrounding heights, rivers, and rail lines made the town a natural fortress and a dangerous trap. By war's end, much of Harpers Ferry lay in ruins. In the decades that followed, the town rebuilt slowly. The Federal Armory never returned, but the memory of its role in shaping the nation remained. The establishment of Harpers Ferry National Historical Park in 1944 ensured preservation of the site's historic buildings and landscapes. Over time, the park expanded to include not only Civil War and abolitionist history, but also stories of African American education, particularly the founding of Storer College, which educated formerly enslaved individuals and hosted important civil rights gatherings in the late 19th century. By the time the United States Mint selected Harpers Ferry for its 2016 release, the site had become both a destination for hikers on the Appalachian Trail and a living classroom where visitors could stand at the crossroads of rivers and history. The design chosen for the coin captures the quiet resilience of John Brown's fort rather than the chaos of battle. The building stands alone, solid and centered, symbolizing conviction and consequence. The inscriptions encircle it as if framing a preserved memory. Production of the coin took place at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, with proof and collector versions struck at the San Francisco Mint. Hundreds of millions entered everyday commerce, making the story of Harpers Ferry accessible to people who might never visit West Virginia. In classrooms across the country, teachers used the coin as a tangible way to discuss the causes of the Civil War, industrial innovation, and the evolving meaning of freedom. Within the broader America, the Beautiful series, the Harpers Ferry Quarter holds a distinctive place because it commemorates not only natural beauty but also ideological conflict. Many coins in the program highlight landscapes of serenity, such as national parks, forests, and seashores. Harpers Ferry, while scenic, represents a battleground of ideas. The coin invites reflection on courage, extremism, justice, and the cost of national division. Today, visitors walking the narrow streets of Lower Town can see restored brick buildings, museums, and interpretive exhibits. They can climb Maryland Heights for panoramic views of the rivers merging below. They can stand before John Brown's fort and imagine the tense hours of October 1859. And somewhere in a pocket or a collection album, the 2016 quarter continues to circulate as a small metallic storyteller. Native American presence before European settlement, the rise of early American industry at the Armory, the full dramatic retelling of John Brown's raid, the Civil War battles around the town, Reconstruction and African American education at Storer College, the preservation movement of the 20th century, and finally the coin's artistic design process and national launch ceremony. Each layer adds depth, turning the quarter from a simple collectible into a gateway to understanding one of the most pivotal crossroads in American history.